Okay, so we're going to talk very quickly now about listening skills. Listening skills are so important when you're with your client because, as I said earlier on, it's 2 ears, 1 mouth. You need to be able to be on tender hooks, watching, listening, observing, so that you can get the most out of your session with your client. And you're going to find that the more that you become centered at listening, the better you become at it, the more observant you'll become, and actually the easier it is to read your client. So listening is being alert, it's watching, it's also making eye contact. You want them to feel comfortable. You don't need to be opposite them, you can be to the side of them, but you want to make eye contact at all times, obviously in a comfortable way. You don't want to like turn into some psycho stare and utter, but you know, you want to make that comfortable space so that you're giving them that 100%. So anything could be going on around you, it doesn't matter because you're holding that space for your client. You don't want to answer the questions for them. You might want to sometimes, and with practice you'll get better at not doing that. Definitely don't butt in. If they're speaking, allow them to finish and then ask the question. Otherwise you're kind of giving them they kind of get the sense that maybe what they're saying is not important, and it is. So you just taking that space back and you're becoming a master at listening. The more you listen, the easier it will be for you to be able to get the answers from your clients, because they are giving you answers all the time in all different ways, which we're going to jump into in a minute. We've got body language, we've got the tonality, we've got the words they're using, we've got the pauses they give. And in all this, you are going to be able to read them like a master by the end of this session. So, because you're going to have all the tools to be able to do that. So listening is the number one thing. When you start listening, you start observing, it becomes so much easier for you to actually get to the real root of what's going on for your client. So listening skills are imperative. What else I want to tell you? That it's also important that when you are with your client and you're listening, you can take notes if you want, that's not a problem. Sometimes, I mean, I often take notes because I can't rely on my memory. But it's also important that you clarify sometimes the question back to them. So I tend to always finish with, so what I'm hearing from you right now is the X, Y, and Z. And what I do is I reiterate back what they've said to clarify what they've said is actually what they mean. And also that gives them space, if it isn't what they mean, to re-say it. But then what it does is it shows them that you're listening, and it really clarifies between the two of you in a relationship form that you're both on the same page, because that's what you need to be. You both need to be working from the same page. So I hear, John, that what you're saying is that when you're in the public place, that you find it really uncomfortable when people ask you questions, and this makes you feel anxious and it makes you feel scared. So I reiterate what that person said so that I can be really clear, and they can then say, oh no, I don't mean it like that. What I mean it like is, because you want to make sure that you're on the same page, because sometimes they might say something and it might make sense to them, but it might mean something completely different to you. So it's about making sure that you are on the same page. So always finish with what I'm hearing is, and reiterate back. So the listening skills, so uber important. Okay. Next, we have got words. And I think we're still on this page, yep. So the next thing we want to dive into is the words that we say. Now, this communication is split up into 3 parts. You've got words, you've got tone, and you've got body language. And actually, they've done a study, and apparently the importance of a word that we say only takes 7%. The importance of the tonality is about 35%, and the rest of how we communicate is through body language. However, as a coach, for you, the importance of listening to the types of words they use is massively important. And that's because you're going to find that your clients, when speaking, will be giving you the answers without even realizing that they're giving you the answers. And how that shows up is in repetitive words. So you'll often get a client that says the same word in a different context 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in 20 minutes. And it's like they're utterly unconscious to it because it's so normal. And it might be the word, I'm not good enough, or I don't like myself, or I don't like this, or I can't do that, or I find it awful doing this, or it can be a really random phrase, but your job is to listen out to anything that a client repeats, and they do. They repeat quite a lot. So listen to the repetitive words and make a note of it. Now, if someone repeats something more than 3 times, it needs to be brought up for the person. If they just say it once, it's not a problem. Twice could be just twice. But if they start getting into 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s, it needs flagging up. And so you can make a note of it, but you also want to bring it to their attention. And how you do that is, so what I'm noticing is that you've said like 4 or 5 times now that you really don't like yourself when you're doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be. And often they'll be like, have I? And they'll like be really shocked. And it always flabbergasts me because I'm thinking, because it's really clear to you, you can hear it, and it's like, oh, there it goes again, there it goes again. And they're like, what, I've said it 6 times? Like, yep. And it's because this is what we do, is we get into unconscious behaviours, unconscious verbal diarrhea, unconscious identification of the mind. And we do this on rinse and repeat, and then because we're in it, we can't see it, we don't realise we're doing it. And of course, for you as the coach, it's just a massive like hurrah, because it shows you that there's a problem here and there's something to work on. So the words that they say are really important. Now, there's been lots of studies done on the power of words, and all words now are vibrational, as are human beings. So words vibrate, the human body vibrates, everything on the planet vibrates. So do words affect a human? Absolutely. There's a really amazing guy called David Hawkins, who I'm a massive fan of, who has done a lot of studies around muscle testing. And muscle testing is called another word for kinesiology, which is basically, we know that like through words we can change the molecular structure of a cell and your body. And what I mean by that is that if someone is to focus on a downward spiraling word like hate, or I hate myself, or something murderous, or whatever, something negative, and you were to test the strength of your muscles, the body weakens by 50%. 50, just by focusing on a negative word. And if you were then to change that into an upward spiraling word, so love, joy, peace, harmony, whatever, then the body becomes stronger instantly, like not in 10 minutes, instantly. This is how powerful words are and what effects they have on a person. So somebody who's depressed or anxious will be generally focusing on, so an anxious person is a forward projector, and a depressed person is someone who spends their time in the past, negative past. So a depressed person tends to like find past experiences. It might not even be their experience. It could be something they've read. It could be something they've witnessed, and they will focus on the negative aspect of that. And an anxious person will then sometimes take something from the past, catapult it into the future, and then with their imagination, they'll use it in a negative way, turn it upside down, and then they'll fabricate and create a scenario, a story that hasn't even happened. But it will be all around low vibrational negative words. So if you are focused on negative words, bearing in mind what I've just said about the muscle testing, and you are spending the majority of your waking state focused on negative stuff, what effect is that going to have on your mind and your body? It's going to instantly weaken the pair of them, and ultimately it's going to affect your client considerably. So the power of words and how they use their words about themselves is really paramount to the change and shift in their return to healing. Now, part of it is bringing that awareness to them, because they're not going to be aware of this, you know. And also, this is a habit. They've been doing this for a long time. They think it's who they are, because for many, many, potentially months, days, years, whatever, hours, whatever it may be, they've just woken up in a habit. First thing they do, they check in with their mind. Their mind goes, oh, you're a loser, you're not good enough, oh, da, 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 whatever it's addicted to. And then pow, it's off. And then the next thing, they've got no energy, they're feeling down, they're feeling like they feel like they've got no hope left in life. They feel like they've got no opportunities, everyone hates them, they feel paranoid. All these beautiful side effects of literally focusing on something negative. So the power of words is absolutely huge when you're with a client. So when you're asking a question, what you want to be doing is you want to be listening to the types of words that they're using to describe themselves and the situation and scenario. And if something comes up that's like uber negative, like hatred or can't stand or guilt or fear or shame or anything that's negative and low vibrational, you just want to make a note of it. And it's not necessarily anything to do right in that moment, but it's just to make a note of, like, I can tell you now that if your client is sat in front of you for anxiety, stress, depression, physical pain, illness, addiction, weight issue, that they have been addicted to negative thinking, period. There is not an exception to the rule. I have never worked with anybody who is depressed, anxious, or in pain who has not been in their heads. They're always off in their heads, addicted to negative thoughts, habits, behaviors. And all behaviors start off with a thought. So a thought becomes a habit, which a habit is just a thought that we repeat, and that becomes your behavior, and then that becomes your personality, and then that becomes who you think you are. So if we rewind it all the way back, it all starts with a thought. So if we change the thought, we can change the behavior. Now, easier said than done, because your client will have been living and existing like that probably for a long, long time. And so it's about being gentle. They're not always going to get it right, but awareness is a huge part of bringing that change to their reality. So you are making notes of anything negative around the words that they're using, anything that they're using on repeat, and you are also going to be listening to, I guess, the way that they're speaking about themselves. So if there's like, oh, they're being, really negative about who they are and how they see themselves, you need to highlight that, because there's going to be some stuff to do on that at some point. So other key areas of little words that you want to look for is when someone says I should, or I need, or I can't. When those three sentences or three words, phrases come up, alarm bells need to go off. So I should, I need, I can't are all cover up phrases for limiting negative beliefs. So when someone goes, I should do that, or I need to do that, or I should, and you're going to notice a lot of shouldas when you're doing this. There's a lot of shouldas and a lot of needers. I need, I can't, I should. As soon as you hear that, you want to write down what it is that they're saying they can't, they should, or they need, because behind that is a negative limiting belief, which we're going to get onto it later on in the sessions. And I'm going to show you what to do with that. But it means that they have downloaded a program in their subconscious, which is playing like a record, that's stopping them from actually going beyond that phrase to do, be, and have what they really truly want. Now, if you go to your workbook, you'll see that I've got a little list of kinds of negative phrases, and then what the actual hidden core emotion is behind it. So if I bring you to the first one, it's I wish. Somebody who says I wish all the time feels disempowered. Someone who says I need constantly feels lack in their lives. Remember, where attention goes, energy flows. So if your attention is always on this lack, what you're going to create more of? More lack. I can't, they feel that nothing's possible, like they can't, there's just no point, failure. I hope is a lack of faith. I never means I won't do it, because underneath that there's a fear that's that big, or a downloaded program that's that big that they won't dare do it. I should is not cover up for I'm fearful. Now, some of the good ones that are great to use, that you can then teach your clients to change and use these phrases instead, is instead of saying I can't, I wish, I need, I never, I should, blah, 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 they can say I have, I always, I create, I am grateful for, I can, I love, I am, I do have. So all those are upward spiraling starts to a sentence. So instead of someone going, well, I should go and tidy my my house because I'm a hoarder, it would be, well, let's have a look at this. Once you've dealt with what's going on behind the hoarding, why don't we change that to, I'm going to create a beautiful home, or I always keep my house tidy, or I'm so grateful for having the things I need but not too much stuff. And you would help them rewrite a new sentence using those positive statements, so that they've got something to change the negative one into something positive. Because all that we're going to do is we're going to rewrite their programs, but the only way to rewrite them now that they're older is through repetition, because their brainwaves are in theta state, and you're not going to be able to do it any other way. So they're brilliant, these like little I have, I always, I create, I'm grateful for, I love, I am, I do have. And you can help them create a positive statement with one of those phrases. So this is the words that we use. Now, the next part is the tone of the words. Now, it's pretty, you're going to be pretty good at this, because you can tell by someone saying exactly the same phrase, depending on the tone that they use, changes the whole state of play for that particular phrase. So you just got to listen to how they say it and pull them on it. So if they go, yeah, I really believe in myself. Well, I mean, that's obviously doesn't sound like somebody that does believe in themselves. They go, yeah, I do believe in myself. I can do this. That's different. They go, yeah, I really believe I can do that. Then you need to go, well, that doesn't sound like you do. and you can be playful with this. You doesn't have to be serious. It can be like bringing it to their attention. It may be uber obvious to you what they're doing. They might not be so aware. So your job is to pull that to their attention and go, do you realise that you just said it in a way that sounded like you didn't really believe in yourself at all? And just bring it to their attention and see what they say. So the tonality is really important, but then also the pauses. So the pauses in when people, you ask them a question and they start answering, sometimes they'll start answering and halfway through answering they'll stop, and then they'll like, you can see that they're looking for an answer, or there'll be something there but they don't know how to say it, or they'll just say it in a way where they'll just say it very sort of like obsolete, yeah, it's fine, and you know that it's not fine because of the way that they've said it and then the way that they've paused afterwards. And your job again is to bring that to their attention. If they pause, if they snooze, they lose. You know there's something hidden there if they're going to be pausing, especially like, so, you know, sometimes it could be a genuine, I can't find the word, and you'll know it. But other times it's like they're either searching for something in their subconscious, they're searching in their mind for an answer, or there's a pause because there's a blockage, the block between you, them, and the answer. So bring that to their attention as well. So that's tonality, which is 35% of importance. So you can read a lot from people by the tone that they use. And the words, the type of words, the repetitive words, the kind of phrases they're using to hide their actual kind of unconscious repressed energy, emotions that's stuck in the mind and body. Okay. All right. I think just give me a thumbs up if you're all right. Okay, cool. Right, let me get to my notes. So body language, right. Okay, so we're going to dive into the famous body language, which is fascinating, and there's so many different parts to body language that we're going to be looking at some of the most obvious parts as a coach of what you're going to be looking for when you're with your client and you're reading what they're really saying. Now, it's amazing, this body language, because literally people will tell you everything through their bodies all the time, and the more you practice this, the better you get at it, the more that you are going to be reading a lot of their body language when you're asking specific questions. And this is just practice. It doesn't matter. You just keep practicing, and then eventually, you know, it'll become more a natural thing to read them. But people will give you the answers through their bodies all the time. And it's as simple as when they sit down and they're in front of you, if you're doing a face-to-face live, it's obviously easier than when you've got them on Zoom, although it's still very easy on Zoom too. And so face-to-face, one of the first things that you want to look at is their feet. You know, people communicate with their feet more than anything else because it's the furthest away from their heads. And so they are telling you how they're feeling, where they're at with whatever you're doing, and what they're wanting to do with their feet. So feet are really important, and you're probably watching this now and then one looking at your own feet going, oh my God, what are my feet doing? And so depending on how someone's feet and legs are pointed, depends on how comfortable they are, how whether they want to be off, whether they're liking what you're asking, whether they're finding it restrictive what you're asking them, whether they're resistant to what you're asking them, and or whether they just want to get up and run. Which sometimes happens, but don't worry, then your job is to make them at ease, and it's all right, it's all very, because at the end of the day, some of this stuff that you're bringing up for people has been there for a long time and it's not comfortable. And you know, as we always say, this is not difficult, but it is different, and that different part sometimes can make us feel a bit weird. So legs, let's dive into the good old legs. Now, when someone sits down, they will either point their leg towards you, to the side, they'll cross their legs, etc. They'll generally get comfortable. Someone that just wants to be comfortable and be there will tend to sit back in their seat, and their feet will generally be just slightly apart, and they won't be necessarily pointing both together in one particular direction. The legs just be quite comfortable and relaxed, and you can generally tell by their posture of how relaxed they are. If somebody doesn't look relaxed, you know, you would offer them a drink, you would make sure, you know, break the ice, build the rapport, talk about other things, so that things that are around topics that they feel comfortable about. So if you know that they're into horses, you might talk about the weather and horse riding. If you know that they like cars, whatever it might be, just to build that rapport and get them comfortable. So the indicator is, if their foot is in the direction that the direction in which their foot will be in is the direction they want to go. If their foot, both of them are pointing kind of outwards, it's they're feeling uncomfortable and they're wanting to get out. If their feet are pointing inwards, then they're feeling okay about what you're asking them and they're ready to answer. You'll find that people might move their legs around. That's absolutely fine. And sometimes, you know, especially if you're sitting for an hour with a client, you want them to be comfortable. So you might just say, you know, just get yourself comfy. Are you comfortable sat like that? Do you need to move at all? And you are asking them to like be the most comfortable version of themselves, so they do get the right answers. If they start getting fidgety with their feet, right, it's because they're uncomfortable. And I don't mean necessarily in a physical way. I mean the questions are challenging. So that's okay. You can say to them things like, sometimes I'm going to ask you a question and there's going to be resistance, and that's all right. And there's resistance because we've behaved in a certain way for a very long time, and that's all we've ever known. And now we're kind of like shaking it up a little bit, and that can feel a little bit weird. And because it feels weird, our natural tendency is to think it's uncomfortable and want to push it away. I just want you to be okay with whatever you're feeling right now. And you're just putting them at ease, because, you know, sometimes things do come up and sometimes it is a little bit like, whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But it's okay. Just put them at ease. So if you start tapping and they start moving their feet around, you know that they are uncomfortable. Okay, moving on to arms. Arms generally are how we express ourselves. So I'm quite an expressive person with my hands and arms, so it doesn't necessarily mean I want to get out, because I'm quite a visual person, so I do a lot of this and da-da-da. And so if you've got a client that's doing a lot of this, then you know that they're a visual person too. So you might want to, if you see that they're more like this, if they're visual, you'll probably want to use more little drawings and things when you're doing activities with them, because you know that they take things in through visual. If they're nervous, they might start really twiddling like the thumbs together, or tapping, or doing this kind of thing. Again, that's your key to relax them. If they're feeling nervous, you might go, you know, I remember like doing some work on myself and feeling really, really weird and a bit nervous, and it's like, and that's okay. If you're feeling that too, it's just about just taking some deep breaths and just being absolutely okay with whatever's being presented. So you're making it okay. You don't want them to feel weird, right? So the main thing is that when you are talking to your client, you want them ultimately to be the most comfortable you can get them, so that you can get the best answers. Then we've got the head. So the head is a funny one, because the head will actually determine someone's stress levels. Now, we move our heads all the time when we're talking and things. We're moving them like a lot. But what you'll find is it's different for men and women. But for men, like if they're feeling stressed, they'll grab a collar or something, like almost do this, got a shirt on, they'll start like doing this. For women, they start going like this around their necks. That means that they're getting stressed. So you need to just like watch that. For women, they'll start touching the necks, and men will start touching something on their clothes, or like they're almost like trying to loosen themselves off, sort of thing, because they're feeling stressed. That's okay. Again, you're going to be some questions you're going to ask. It's going to bring up some stuff for them, and it's just about relaxing them once you notice that. Yeah. So the head will give you a lot of like signals to their little stress levels. Also, if they're feeling quite like embarrassed or meek, the head will tend to come down and inwards. So if someone's feeling like you can see that they're withdrawing, it's your job to make them feel comfortable and tell them it's okay. If they're not ready to answer this right now, we can come back to it. Or do they just need a little bit more support on answering it? And just ask them. But if you could see people pulling back, they're kind of like withdrawing, becoming meek, embarrassed, or like find it difficult to answer that question, that's okay. Just make them feel good. Okay, so as a rule, your lips and eyes are responsible for 80% of your facial expressions. So your lips and eyes. The eyes, they always say, are the gateway to the soul, and the lips, you will notice, will do things like, ooh, when somebody doesn't like something, they'll tighten up and they'll quince in. And when somebody's more relaxed, they'll open up and start smiling more. So you can read a lot with the eyes and the lips. But one of the things I notice a lot when clients, especially with eyes, is you'll say something, and before they've even answered, they'll do some sort of movement with their eyes, which will give you the answer. So you might say, so how did you feel when that person said that? And they'll go, roll their eyes or something, and you'll go, oh, what, that bad? And it's quite good to like pull them on it, because two things. One, because it shows them that you're taking notice, but two, it usually makes them smile and laugh a little bit, because it's like they've been caught out, and because they're aware that what they're doing. And I really highly recommend that. So watch the eyes quite often, or there might be a little shrug, you know, like, oh, I don't know. But I always pull my clients on stuff like that, because I think it's good communication, it's playful, it shows that it brings that awareness to them of what they're doing, and you'll be amazed how many clients give you the answers through such small, tiny gestures, like the roll of the eyes or the little shrug of the shoulders when you ask a question and they kind of don't want to have to answer it and they're being a bit cheeky with it. So watch out for that. What else I want to tell you? So when eyes go to look upwards, so they're looking up to the left and that they're thinking about something. When they're looking to the side, to the left, then they're generally indicating they're recalling a memory. And when you're looking to the right, then they're usually using their imagination. So it's imagination's right, left is memory, up is recalling. When they may also like sometimes would look like they're a bit bored. If they look like that, it's maybe because they don't know how to answer the question, and then it's your job to like re-ask the question in a different way. So they're constantly going to be giving you answers through where they're looking, but generally they're recalling information, they're using their imagination, they're finding a memory and they're bringing it back in, and that's absolutely fine. If someone looks down to the right, then they're potentially avoiding answering the question, avoiding the truth. So it doesn't really happen that much, to be honest, because generally when you've got someone in front of you, they want to get better. So it's not a biggie. I guess if you're a police officer, you would use that one more. Okay, and what else I want to tell you? So side to side, yeah, and the last one, I suppose, the eyes, if they've been a bit shifty, they generally move their eyes from side to side. So eyes are a really big indicator and one to watch. Eyes, little shrugs, the feet. I mean, it's amazing how they communicate through their body language. Fascinating. You're going to love it. So this is why you've got to be so good at listening, because you're watching, really. You're observing. You're not just listening. You're watching everything with tender hooks of like little signals and little like what they're doing now. So just be really alert. And, if you're not really 100% sure in the beginning, you can just make yourself a little note and then you can look it up and then recall it and go back to it. So that is body language. Okay.
I remember doing it.
Are you good there?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those big brothers when they came out, they read the body language. That was fascinating. And then it went, oh crap, and let's get as many weird people on as we can. And
Yeah.
No, the first two series when it first came out was they did they sort of had shots where they cut people's faces so you could only see like their mouths or their eyes, and the whole body picture it was so different just from just being able to see their eyes. You could see like they'd be smiling, but their eyes were just like, I'm gonna cut you down.
Well, it was more like an experiment, wasn't it?
The first couple were very definitely. I don't watch anything like that now. Yeah.
Have you watched Tell Me Who I Am? Kirsty, are we on?
Yeah, I'm not recording.
That's right. Have you